So if you got the planner, it's pretty self-explanatory. So it's time blocking. So what we do first is you want to write down all the concrete things that you know are going to happen in the week. So that's going to be work and appointments, and anything that you can't really move. Okay, so that's going to be for sure. So for me, at the moment, that's only going to look like yoga teaching and appointments. So I write everything down in the appropriate time slot. So everything. Also, what I do is I take a list from the week before. So here it says like my list of things to do and then what to do next week. So if something comes into my head and I'm like, okay, I don't have time, I can do it next week. I put it down, and then when I'm planning the next week, I just take that list and I make it my to-do list. I purposely only made 7 things because I used to make these like 20 item lists and get overwhelmed and then just kind of shut down. So I've kind of made it easy for myself by focusing on 7 things. Then 7 things that, you know, it would be nice if I had time to do, but they're not pressing. And then next week. So next week is stuff that you really want to get done, but it's not really a priority. So I would say right now, like one of my main priorities is focusing. I have so many ideas. So instead of, you know, running around like a headless chicken, I try to focus on one thing at a time. This is very difficult for me, and it's sort of like a practice because I don't think I'm ever going to properly get my mind so focused on one thing, but it really helps to have like a concrete list. So when I get a really bit spacey and full of air, I can turn back to, okay, we have one thing that we're working on right now. So you want to write down the most important things that you want to get done in your week, things that you would like to do but might not get done, and then things that can wait until next week, or maybe things that are coming up next week. So like, for example, this week I have to pay rent, so that's going to go on my list. So pay rent, my landlord operates cash, so that means I have to be organized enough to go to the one ATM that my bank has near my house and get organized, pay rent and internet, which is also cash. So that's something that I need to write down. So pay rent. I also need to pay for my driving courses, so pay and book in driver's courses. So anything that you didn't get done from the last week, you can look at your to-do list from last week and be like, okay, some stuff you didn't actually end up needing to do. Some stuff you did, and some stuff you can carry forward to the next week. And driving courses is one of them. Another tip I really like is brainstorming, like sitting down with a big piece of paper and just writing everything down that you can possibly think of that you would want to get done this week. And it might be like really mundane things like fixing a hook by your door, or it might be, you know, seeing a friend you haven't seen in a while. Like, you brainstorm the big list and then you can kind of pick the things and kind of put them in your schedule. And the thing with time blocking is by blocking out certain hours, you can see how much free time you actually do have. So what I usually do is after I block out my classes and my appointments, I usually go in after and I plan when I'm going to practice. And I always put it in pencil, so it's not it's not dogmatic, and I just put in pencil when I'd like to practice. Another thing I always do is habit tracking. I rarely take breaks from this. I do take breaks from this because it can be a bit intense to always be tracking stuff. And I've gotten a lot better, so I only have 4 habits now that I track. But what I do is I change it per week depending on what I want to achieve that week. So if I'm like noticing that I'm drinking a lot of coffee or too much sugar, or my practice is lagging a little bit, I'll put it on here to track it. And I can't believe the difference it makes. If you put something on your goal tracker, you're so much more likely to do it in your habit tracker than if you just kind of leave it up to your mind And then I also put like, these are quotes that are really speaking to me at the moment, so I put those in there. And the mantra this week is, again, like my focus in my work life and my organization right now is focus. So instead of getting a lot done, it's actually more about picking one thing to do. So I'm trying to train my mind to move back to a singular focus. This is very difficult, but I find having mantras, quotes, a list of things you're going to focus on really, really helps. I also have a project wall where I put post-its up, and whenever I get overwhelmed with my projects, I turn towards a post-it wall to see what's a priority. And I put a lot of time into choosing what were my priorities. So another thing that I need to do this week is send out signs. So if you're a $10 reward member, after the payments go through in March, you'll be getting a sign. So I'm going to send those out, which means I'm going to package them up, put in some stickers and write some love notes and send those out. That's one of my favorite things to do. Another thing that I would like to do this week. Okay, so I have someone coming in. I've been renting out my apartment on Airbnb for the whole month, which is crazy. So I haven't actually been living in my apartment. I've been living at my brother's house just to make a little bit of money. And I need to really be on top of the bookings, or I kind of forget because I'm not even here. So what I do is I kind of write in like when I have check-ins, like what time they're coming and what time they're leaving. So next week, in next week column, I'm going to write like, okay, this guest is leaving. This whole like this week, next week system has worked really, really well for me in terms of being more careful with my time. Another thing I need to do this week is the newsletter. So you start with the most important kind of immovable things, and then you kind of negotiate with yourself. Because for me, like getting it down to this many points has been huge. It really helps you pick what is more important to you. So those are kind of my tips on how to use this. I really think like it's a printable, so you could have a couple goes at it. Another thing that I'm really going to suggest with this is it's a guide, so fill it out, and you can even fill this out and kind of leave it around. You don't have to be glued to it. Don't be too meticulous or dogmatic about it. Once you've written these things down, they're going to stay in your mind. So it's really just a helpful way to like imprint your plan for your week. And I always try and leave a certain amount of space to just do nothing. So in the past, I would kind of make sure every